Almost Famous with John Shea. Featuring local and independent musicians from the South Shore, Boston, and New England. On 95.9 WATD.
Welcome to the Tiny Stage Hour of Almost Famous 95.9 WATD, introducing you to independent bands and musicians from across New England every Tuesday night, brought to you by Tiny & Sons Glass. I am John Shea, and if you're a local musician with original music you'd like to hear on the radio, get in contact with me. Find all the information up on the Almost Famous page at 959watd.com. Follow us tonight on Facebook and Instagram at Almost Famous Radio, and if you're into podcasts, we have one of those too. You can find that by searching Almost Famous WATD on your favorite podcast app or at almostfamousradio.com. Enough of me. We have our tiny stage guest joining us in studio tonight, and that would be Tom Hanson. Tom, good evening. How you doing?
Good evening, John. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
I am great. So for those who might not be familiar with you, give us an introduction.
So my name is Tom Hanson. I am a singer-songwriter, musician, and performer from Bristol, Rhode Island, and I am just thrilled to be here tonight.
I want to give a huge thank you to Lainey Dione, who introduced me to you. She was here last week on the Tiny Stage, and she just couldn't say enough good things about you, so I'm so glad we were able to make this work.
I'll have to thank her as well. Thank you so much, Lainey.
So, pandemic life has been the name of the game over the last year and a half. How has the pandemic affected you and your music?
Oh, it was completely devastating. Thankfully, I had a secondary source of income to fall back on. I do work 9 to 5. I was laid off for 4 months and obviously lost my gig money, so that went away, unfortunately. It came to me in phases. It was like, at first we couldn't go outside. We couldn't, hug each other or see each other, so there was a lot of puzzles. I started watching wrestling again because I was so bored. Like things I hadn't done since I was...
bad, huh?
Things I hadn't done since I was a teenager, an early, adolescent teenager, so... Yeah, thankfully, we're pretty well adjusted to somewhat getting back to normalcy right now. Gigs are picking up. I'm no longer chained to my house and work, which is great.
Was it new wrestling or classic wrestling?
It was new wrestling, which is not quite what I remember. I won't name any names or brands. I'm just going to say I think I've had that itch. It's been scratched. I'm ready to move on.
So you're one of the first timers here on the Tiny Stage. So share with us what's available out there for music from you.
So I have an EP out called Amphitheater that was released back in late 2016. I'm going to be playing songs off of that EP today, as well as one track that was from an earlier EP that I don't know if it's on Spotify or not, but I will double check that before we're done.
Cool. And before we get to that, share with us your website.
My website is tomhanson.com, last name spelled Hanson, tomhanson.com. That's where you can find all my music, dates, pictures about me, press kit, all that stuff, all that jazz.
Fantastic. Let's hear a song. What are we starting off the night with?
We are starting off with a song from the EP called Club Music.
All right, let's hear it. Tom Hanson on the Tiny Stage, 95.9 WATD. It's all yours. WATD 95.9 with Tom Hanson on the tiny stage. Nice job, man.
Thank you very much.
It's not that often that we have an artist open up the show with an instrumental song. Talk about your songwriting process.
So specifically with that song, that is the first track on the EP. When I was writing or compiling ideas for the EP, I really had, I think, a notion I wanted to prove that you didn't need a drum machine or like a studio beat to make a track that people can kind of move to. And that's what I was really hoping to achieve, and that's why it's called club music. That's how when I perform live, I use a little bit of a bass drum that you can step on, emulates the sound, so that you don't need any of that to really get a good groove. I was just trying to find a groove song, and that's what I found. That's what I was able to come up with for that.
When I was in high school, I got really into fingerstyle guitar players like Don Ross and Andy McKee, and I'm always curious to know the difference between writing an instrumental piece of music versus a piece of music with lyrics.
Yeah, that's a very good question. The processes, I think, are very different, and it's so much easier, I think, for me to write or for me to come up with melodies and chord structures and really song structures similar to those fingerstyle guitarists you mentioned. In fact, that last track was inspired by a friend of mine, an Irish fingerstyle guitar player named Shane Hennessy, who I met when I was in Ireland for a brief time in college. But the process is very different. I find I'm a better poet with this guitar than I am with my words, at least in my own opinion. So that's I find it's easier to come up with melodies and than it is lyrics.
You mentioned that you're from Rhode Island. Walk us through your history in the New England music community.
Let's see. So history in the Rhode Island music community, or the local music community. I started out in a band, like we all do, in like cover bands in high school, called First Time Around. I played with them until I was, I believe, a freshman in high school. We disbanded and we each went our own ways. I played a number of solo shows up in college, and then when I came back, I did a brief stint with Carnival Cruise Lines before really releasing this EP and diving in to support it. And since then, I've done a bunch of wedding band gigs. I am in another high-energy cover band that takes up most of my weekend time, and I continue to write and continue to play solo shows as often as I can.
What is your very first musical memory?
My very first musical memory is singing a song for my preschool graduation that was basically volunteer-driven. They needed someone to recite the tune and lyrics of this song, basically saying, welcome to the graduation, welcome to the show and everything. And, you know, me being 4 and full of energy, decided to raise my hand and say, I'll do it. And that was my first musical memory. But the first time I can really say I performed live, I actually sang a Harry Chapin tune, Cats in the Cradle, for a 4th grade talent show. That was my first memory, actually performing, rehearsing, doing something, and then presenting it to a bunch of people.
That's very cool. When did you realize that you wanted to do music for a living?
That's a good question. I think the first person who made me want to do it for a career, it was one of two people. And this is how my taste varies. In high school, it was a band called Muse, who were massively inspirational. And I said, that's what I want to do. I want to entertain stadiums.
One of my favorites.
I love them. I can't get enough of them, even to this day. And then the other one is a singer-songwriter named Frank Turner, who's from England, and he is just tremendous. I've met him a number of times. He's just lovely. His songwriting is, for me, like just in 21st century, is like apex, top. It's great.
That's Tom Hanson. He's joining us tonight on the tiny stage here on WATD. Let's hear another one of your songs. What are we listening to next?
Absolutely. This is a tune called Albany. This is one with lyrics. The rest of them are going to be ones with lyrics. And yeah, this is a tune about a trip I took with a girl and a small ensemble out when I was a freshman in college, and kind of how I wished we had gone back there and done things differently.
Okay. Let's hear it. Tom Hanson, 95.9 WATD. The tiny stage is yours.
haven't been great for a while. I miss your smile and that adorable laugh that you'd give to me every night. But you're drained as we watch the falling rain. Your eyes are closed but you're not sleeping. Mind is running but it's not dreaming. But I know a city not too far away that can help amend your soul. And I hope you remember that night, making snowmen at midnight. Oh yeah, yeah. Think we both need to get a break from this town. So drop your plans and take my hand. We'll make our great escape to Albany. Albany, oh, come with me to Albany. Last time we were here, every single one of our fears disappeared. The hard part was the journey. Then we witnessed the b-ball tourney. Entertained from the first pass. The guys kicked some ass. And the other squad, well, we'll let that one pass. And I hope you remember that night, making snowmen at midnight. Oh yeah, yeah. Think we both need to get a break from this town. So drop your plans and take my hand and spend a week with me in Albany. To a prayer of a broken, now blessed man. If you can't stay, I understand. Or meet me back here when you can. And know that I will wait for you until your broken past is found behind you. And I hope you'll remember that night, making snowmen at midnight. Oh yeah, yeah. Think we both need to get the hell out of this town. Oh, we're singing oh, and this time we'll get it right. This time you'll sleep tonight. And every time I close my eyes and I see Cora and me forever in Albany.
Very cool. That's Tom Hanson on the tiny stage tonight. 95.9 WATD. When do you know a song is finished?
Oh, that's a question I struggle with. It's whenever you've performed it enough times and it feels right. I think I saw this movie Echo in the Canyon where I think Jackson Browne hits this exactly. Like you play it until until you can't do it wrong, until it feels right, it feels finished. He is incredibly meticulous about his writing and his voicing on his piano and how things are coming together. And a song is finished when there's nothing more to be done to it. You can do too much to it. I have pushed that before. Thankfully, it hasn't made a record, but you do know when you start adding too much as well.
We were talking earlier about Lainey Dione, and her new album is out. It sounds amazing, and there really is something incredible about being able to craft a 2.5, 3-minute pop song. There's like a certain art to that that's really hard to do.
There is. I think a lot of songwriters, myself included, get hooked on this idea of like, you have to write the next great song. You have to write the next Hotel California, the next Brown Eyed Girl, or the next any number of great classic songs, you name it. And when you're just starting out, you have all these ideas that could work together, and you've got to figure out which ones to filter out, which ones to keep in the track. It is tough. You realize that, like, 3 verses, 3 choruses go by like that. So it is an art to really know when to cut it back.
And you talked about Harry Chapin and Van Morrison and Jackson Browne, and those are the staples of the 70s. And most of their most well-known songs are like well over 5 minutes.
That is true. Yeah, Harry in particular is a songwriter. He was my earliest musical influence. Hence why I sang his song when I was 9 years old. But a number of his songs that were well over the 3 to 4 minute radio friendly limit are excellent songs, but never made it on the charts in the way that Jim Croce, James Taylor, Cat Stevens did.
Those are really great songs too, especially when it's time for a bathroom break in radio.
Yes,
put one of those songs on and you're good to go for at least 7 or 8 minutes.
Exactly. You put Taxi on, you can have a sandwich, you can go to the bathroom.
Exactly. One time I was working Thanksgiving and 12 o'clock you put on Alice's Restaurant. I was able to make it up to Wendy's, get lunch, and be back before the song was over.
Perfect.
It's great. How do you know when a song is ready? How does that work with an instrumental song?
That's a good question. I think I haven't written too many instrumentals, or haven't committed too many of them to a record, but same thing. You got to get. It's a little more fluid, I think, than a typical song with lyrics, because you have more free reign over the form. Like that song in particular that I played, club music. It's really only like 3 verses and a bridge. It's like A B A B A kind of thing. So that just felt like as much as I wanted to say with that. But I love listening to people like fingerstyle guitar players like Tommy Emmanuel, Andy McKee, and they do songs that can be more rhythmic based instead of melody based. So that can also help dictate when a song is finished or not.
That's Tom Hanson. He's our guest tonight on the WATD Almost Famous Tiny Stage. My name is John Shea, and we introduce you to independent bands and musicians every Tuesday night. Brought to you by Tiny and Sons Glass. We are up against our first break of the 9 o'clock hour. But we have a lot more to talk about, more songs to share as well from Tom Hanson. So stick around to 95.9 WATD.
And now, back to Almost Famous on 95.9 WATD.
Welcome back to the Tiny Stage Hour, Almost Famous 95.9 WATD, introducing you to independent bands and musicians from across New England. Every Tuesday night, 8 to 10, brought to you by Tiny and Sons Glass. My name is John Shea. Follow us online tonight, Facebook and Instagram at Almost Famous Radio, and our podcast, which you can find by searching Almost Famous WATD on your favorite podcast app or at almostfamousradio.com. So tonight we are being joined on the tiny stage by Tom Hanson. How you doing, my friend?
Doing great, John. How are you?
I am great too. Thank you so much for making this work.
Thank you. I'm having a great time so far.
Give us another introduction if you would.
So my name is Tom Hanson. I am a singer-songwriter, performer, and musician from Bristol, Rhode Island. I play solo all over New England. I play in a couple of other bands and projects as well. And I'm just thrilled to be here. Playing some original music that I haven't had a chance to do publicly in quite some time for reasons we all know. Exactly.
Share with us your website, social media, and talk about any albums and singles that are currently available.
Absolutely. So my website is www.tomhanson.com. Last name spelled Hanson, tomhanson.com. You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Tom Hanson Music. And I have an EP out called Amphitheater that was released in 2016. All the songs that you are hearing tonight are available on that EP. And you can find that wherever you find music.
Let's keep on going with the music. What are we listening to next?
So this next song is on the Amphitheater EP. It's a song called Hourglass, and it's just about having time and distance kind of be prime factors for why a relationship with really anybody has to end. But this is something I wrote around the time I was going away to college, and you talked to me kind of off air about, do people get to know whether songs are written about them or not. This was the first song, I think, where someone knew that this was written about them.
All right, well, let's hold off on the story and talk about that after the song.
We'll do that afterwards. No problem at all.
Sounds good. Tom Hanson on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD.
Lost my chance to be your man, did the best I can. It's out of my hands. Remember all those nights, dancing with delight for the fire we ignite. I won't go down without a fight. Can somebody take this hourglass off of my back, off of my back, off of my back? 'Cause there's no way of stopping the sand from falling. Take this hourglass off of my back, off of my back, off of my back. And you're the only reason my heart's still beating. And I know I'll see you in my dreams tonight, until we meet again. And God only knows the way life's river flows. Would he save me if in time he sees I'm drowning? I just want to hold you in my arms and keep you safe from harm. Serenade you in my bed and never leave your finger naked. Can somebody take this hourglass off of my back, off of my back, off of my back? 'Cause there's no way of stopping the sand from falling. Take this hourglass off of my back, off of my back, take it off of my back. You're the only reason my heart's still beating. And I know I'll see you in my dreams tonight, until we meet again. I just wanna hold you in my arms, keep you safe from harm, serenade you in my bed, and never leave your finger naked. Can somebody take this hourglass off of my back, off of my back, off of my back? 'Cause there's no way of stopping the sand from falling. Can somebody take this hourglass off of my back, off of my back, off of my back? 'Cause there's no way of stopping the sand from falling. Take this hourglass off of my back, off of my back, take it off of my back. And you're the only reason my heart's still beating. And I know I'll see you in my dreams tonight, until we meet again.
Awesome. That's Tom Hanson joining us tonight on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD. Now, just before you started playing that song, you were talking about telling people whether or not songs are written about them. That was the first one you pulled that card on. How did that turn out?
Well, I haven't really seen her since, but she knows it's about her. Last time I saw her, we were friendly, but yeah, just no longer involved, no longer a thing. And now, like I said, or like I was saying to you earlier, I think my opinion of that has changed. I used to think people need to know. That was, the 17, 18-year-old songwriter reminded me, people need to know these songs are about them. They need to know. They really don't. In fact, a lot of times it's better when they don't, or if they don't. But that was the first one I would say that, yeah, definitely knew it was about that person.
Do you tend to write from personal experience, or do you have that unique ability to put yourself into somebody else's place and write from their perspective?
Oh, I find it's much easier in my own writing to write more autobiographically. Definitely easier to write from your own experiences, to write about what you know. It takes a more mature, experienced writer to put yourself in someone else's shoes in the way that so many great songwriters have done.
That being said, do you have any songs that are too personal to publicly share?
I actually don't, but I truly feel that sometimes the best songs that you can write are songs that you don't expect people to hear, that you like, they're just for yourself. You're playing them in your bedroom. Don't expect to play it, publicly live. Now, because I've played so much, I feel like the expectation is that anything I write, needs to be played live. I don't think there's really. I'm a one-person act. I don't have a band when I perform my original songs, but I still feel that there's not really an expectation of secrecy if I were to just create something and finish it. I feel like it would be expected to be out into the world, and I've got to have that mindset. Even if I want people, or if I write it like no one's going to hear it, it's going to come out.
I had Lori McKenna on the show several years back, and she was saying that some of the songs that really hit the hardest with people are the songs that she just thinks are throwaway tracks.
That can happen too. Yeah, I'm surprised. It's not always the songs that that are your favorites that are going to be the ones that hit with people, or the songs that you don't expect to hit do.
I was reading on your website that you spent some time on a cruise ship.
Yes, that's right. Right after college, I went out into the real world looking for real jobs with my degree. Couldn't find anything for a little while, so I was working in a music shop in Rhode Island. And a friend's dad of mine showed me an ad for Carnival Cruise Lines who were looking for soloists at the time. And I said, how do I apply? Sign me up. And so I applied through their website. I sent in a virtual audition, and a couple weeks later they reached back out to me and asked me to audition in New York City. So I drove out there, spent the night on a cousin's couch, and got the gig. So I was out at sea between the end of 2016 and the end of 2017 for about 7 or 8 months. And it was truly an incredible time of growth for me as a performer and as a musician. Vocally, I don't think I'd ever had more endurance in my life. So that was great. I did a lot of music in college and a lot of classical studies, not because I ever wanted to become a classical singer or a classically trained singer, but I wanted to know how not to lose my voice night after night if I really wanted to do this as a career. And that was the first real taste of
Trial by fire.
Trial by fire, and this training worked. I never really lost my voice, and I envy that I don't get to sing or publicly play as much as I did during that time out at sea.
Well, the benefit of some of those shows, I can imagine, is when you're playing shows by yourself, solo shows, in a loud, crowded bar, you don't necessarily have the best sound setup. And I can imagine on a Carnival cruise ship, you're going to have like the best sound tech and the best monitors on the planet.
Yeah, it was pretty top-notch no matter where I was playing, because they moved you around a lot based on what the schedule was for the week. Certain ships I was on, they'd have you in the lobby every night, or they'd have you in bar or pub area every night. Sometimes you were in the casino, but it was always really, really top-notch sound quality. And guests were always super appreciative. I can't say enough good things about my time out there.
We talked earlier before we went live tonight about we have a mutual friend, Alyssa Musto, who's from right down the street here on the South Shore, and she was a vocalist on a cruise ship just as COVID was happening. And looking back to your time when you were on a cruise ship, what was going through your mind when things started coming out about cruise ships in the early days of COVID-19? Did you know anybody that was still playing on ships at that time?
Oh yeah, I have a lot of friends who they did that full time. That was their gig as either musicians or performers, dancers, singers in the shows. And yeah, they had to go and get new jobs. I saw one of them became like an online fitness instructor, telling people to get up.
And for a while, they weren't even allowed off the ship.
Yeah, for a while, some people were not allowed off the ship. I had one friend who was really stuck out at sea for a while before finally getting back to the UK. And I'm just really, really happy for them to be getting back to that now. That's, I can't imagine if that was my full-time gig and not having another way to support myself. So I hope they all made it out all right. I'm sure they did.
That is the voice of Tom Hanson, our guest tonight here on the WATD Tiny Stage. Let's continue with your songs. What are we listening to next?
Next, we are listening to another song off of the Amphitheater EP. This is a song called Shadow by My Side.
We've played this one quite a bit. I love this track.
Yeah, we warmed up with this track. This one's a lot of fun for me, and people seem to identify with this one. I think it's probably the most radio-friendly or most radio-accessible song that I have, so put it smack dab in the middle here tonight.
Let's hear it. Tom Hanson, 95.9 WATD. The Tiny Stage is yours.
You must have been someone special to make me feel like I do when I'm around you. Months went by and the feelings grew, chilling on the beach with nothing to do but gaze at you. Cold hot days and long nights pass, sitting here wondering how long it's gonna last. 'Cause I realize now I need to get off this ride. I'm sick of all the twists and turns with no end in sight. I hope someday you'll understand in time. I realize now that day and night I'm much better off with my shadow by my side. By my side. I never knew that goodbye meant giving away the only thing that mattered. And you were all that mattered. Within these walls I'm cold and damp. The phone won't ring and home feels just like a trap. Yeah, I guess I'm trapped. The days grow longer and the nights won't last. Voices in my head say stop living in the past. 'Cause I realize now I need to get off this ride. I'm sick of all the twists and turns with no end in sight. I hope someday you'll understand in time. I realize now that day and night I'm much better off with my shadow by my side. Myself in a soft voice, it was not meant to be. Suddenly there's a knock on my door. Guess who I see? She says it was a big mistake that left me feeling down. That's okay, baby. Let's turn this thing around. 'Cause I realize now I need to stay on this ride. 'Cause when we kiss and when we touch, you know I feel so alive. I hope this ride can pass the test of time. I realize now that day and time you were the shadow by my side. By my side.
Awesome. Tom Hanson tonight on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD. Walk us through how you wrote that song.
That song was originally a breakup song. In the verses, it was around the time my first relationship was falling apart for the first time, and that was a song basically trying to get my emotions out, get my anger out, and just say like I need you. Like I the best way I could think to express it was the metaphor of always having a shadow attached to you. Wherever there's a sun, you have a shadow behind you. But the realization that I needed her, this actually came. I'm talking about myself in circles here. I'm actually misremembering this. This started out as an angry song saying, I don't need you, get away, this is done. And then we ended up patching things up and having another run for a couple of months, and it turned into a kind of a full circle kind of redemption song, and realizing that person is the shadow. They're not just like, I'm not better off with just this, you are that. You are attached to me. And
very cool.
Yeah, That's how that one came out, and that was one of the very, I think, first songs that I had finished. So this is going back a little while.
Tom Hanson is his name, joining us tonight on the tiny stage. Let's talk influences. Who did you listen to growing up? I know we briefly touched upon this earlier, and who are you listening to locally?
So we'll start with the question about who are my influences growing up. Like I said before, I loved Harry Chapin, I loved Muse, I loved Frank Turner. It's all over the place. I think one of my first concerts was the Police, the world tour that they did when they were saying goodbye. So that was fun. Who else? I love Pearl Jam, I love Radiohead. It's really, as I've gotten older, it's expanded, just exponentially. It was strictly Muse and Frank Turner when I was in high school to a degree. And then locally, I love going to see Neil and the Vipers. Neil's a tremendous blues guitar player from Rhode Island. My friend Lainey, who's about to release an album, she's tremendous. I love going to see her. Allison Rose, Kayla Farnham, they're all tremendous songwriters in their own right. All of them are favorites and friends of mine.
What's a song you wish you had written?
A song I wish I had written. That's a tough one. I find that some of the songs I enjoy the most are songs that don't have a typical song structure. Songs you would never hear on the radio, songs that like you only hear when kind of like you're driving late at night and it kind of like comes on your phone or something like that. And I haven't written one of these songs that I call rant songs yet. They almost seem like stream of consciousness. There's no real structure to them other than the music. But it's not like it has a chorus or anything. It just has this connecting idea. Off the top of my head, as I'm stalling to come up with one, I love the song Sometime Around Midnight by the Airborne Toxic Event. I should have mentioned them earlier as an influence of mine. Michael Jolette, I think, is an incredible writer, and it's a song about basically being like incredibly hammered and seeing your ex-girlfriend walk into a bar and like, doing all the things that you can imagine just to like make sure that you saw her, make sure you know that she's there, that she's fine without you, and you're just like helpless. All you can do is be stuck with these memories and the agony of being in the same room. It's a tremendously written song. If you haven't heard it, Sometime Around Midnight, it's great.
How about a song that you hate?
How about a song that I hate? We talked earlier. I said jokingly anything by Sugar Ray with absolute certainty.
I would agree with that. I love Mark, but not a big Sugar Ray fan.
It's not even that. It's like it seems like everything is like out of tune, and that drives me crazy. And like not his voice, the guitar. That really grates on me. What's another one I hate? It's a Blondie song. It's Tide is High by Blondie. Can't stand it.
It's one of my mom's favorite songs.
I'm sure she loves it very much. It's just, it's not one for me. And I believe that's a cover, like an old
it's like an old reggae
tune, right?
song.
It did not need to be remade. It grates on me.
And I think that's like one of Blondie's biggest hits.
It definitely is. Yeah, the rest of I find that the rest of their stuff isn't bad. I used to say, like, if you could eliminate 3 bands from the face of the earth, which ones would they be? Blondie was always a first answer of mine, but I'm finding I'm actually enjoying some of their other stuff that's not tied as high.
Share with us your website and social media links again, if you would.
Of course. Website is tomhanson.com, TOMHANSON, tomhanson.com. And my socials are Tom Hanson Music on Facebook and Instagram. I also have a Twitter, but I'm not on it much. You can follow me at Tom Hanson Music for Twitter if you still use Twitter.
TikTok?
Not on TikTok yet. Or as whenever I hear TikTok, I picture the drummer of one of my other bands just saying TikTok, because he's definitely a Boston guy, and it just makes me laugh every time I hear it. I've not gotten on TikTok yet, though. I should. Should I? Should I do those crazy dances?
Or sea shanties?
Or sea shanties. Those would be more fun, I think. Definitely more fun, given given my experience out at sea. My dad and I have very different experiences out at sea. My dad was in the Navy, and and I went to Carnival Cruise Lines, and he said the only difference between what you did and what I did is there was no dancing girls on my ship. I thought that was great.
That paints a picture. We have 2 more songs left, so what are we listening to next?
All right. What are we listening to next? What haven't we done yet? We are going to listen to The Things We've Done, which is another song off of my Amphitheater EP.
Cool.
And this is a song about just... This is not a romantic song. Some people take it as that. But it's really just about having a fight with someone close to you and, realizing that you're kind of being a jerk when you're just mad and frustrated. You don't see things the same way. A friend and I had an epic blowout one night and just, this is kind of how I dealt with it. And this song actually came together quite quickly. And I think this is the one, whenever I do kind of like songwriter nights or put out a collection of my music, this is one I think that people tend to gravitate towards most. And this is not one that I expected to. It also kind of came out as a country song, which I didn't mean for it to, and I think some of that just has to do with the vowels I chose on certain notes and kind of the way the melody falls. But its inception was not meant to be a country song, but it may come across that way. But decide for yourself. Let me know what you think.
Tom Hanson, 95.9 WATD. It's all yours.
Thanks, John. This is called The Things We've Done. It's easy to point fingers when you shout that same old song. And it's hard to tell the difference when neither one of us knows who's wrong. These nights we fight in this dim light, heads are far too strong. I don't like your tone or the things we've thrown. Why the hell is it so damn hard to keep the peace for this damn long? It's easy after battle to know who's lost and who has won. The hardest part of this life is living with the things we've done. It's easy to point fingers when we fall apart at the seams. We've forgotten where we're going. We got lost chasing the same dream. These nights we fight in this dim light make my soul wanna scream. But you don't like my tone or the colors that I've shown. Now that it's wrecked, the peace we kept, I guess I'll leave you alone. It's easy after battles, know who's lost and who has won. The hardest part of this life is living with the things we've done. It's easy after battle to know who's lost and who has won. The hardest part of this life is living with the things we've done. Oh, there's one thing I've left to say, so don't lose it in the mist. On second thought, forget it. I think you get the gist. It's easy after battle to know who's lost and who has won. The hardest part of this life is living with the things we've done. It's easy after battle to know who's lost and who has won. The hardest part of this life is living with the things we've done. It's easy after battle, who's lost and who has won. It's easy after battle to know who's lost and who has won. The hardest part of this life is living with the things we've done. There's one thing I've left to say, so don't lose it in the mist. On second thought, forget it. I think you get the gist.
It does sound like a country song.
It does, a little bit.
It's Tom Hanson on the tiny stage, 95.9 WATD. We are up against our final break. We have time for one more song. Does that work for you?
Absolutely, love to.
We'll do it right after this. 95.9 WATD. It's Almost Famous.
And now, back to Almost Famous on 95.9 WATD.
For the final time tonight, welcome back to the Tiny Stage Hour at Almost Famous 95.9 WATD. I'm John Shea, introducing you to independent bands and musicians from across New England. Every Tuesday night, 8 to 10, brought to you by Tiny & Sons Glass. Being joined tonight on the Tiny Stage for the final time by Tom Hanson. How you doing?
Great, John.
Thank you again for making this work.
Oh, thank you. I'm super happy and appreciative to be here. Thank you to everyone who's listening.
One final time, give us your website and your social media pages.
Absolutely, sure thing. Website is tomhanson.com, Hanson, tomhanson.com. You can find me on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. Handle is at Tom Hanson Music. Again, that's Hanson, Tom Hanson Music.
Fantastic. We have time for one more song to take us up to 10 o'clock, and I understand it's going to be a cover.
Yes, we're going to do a cover. John and I were talking about this song.
We're going to make it a surprise?
Yeah, we'll make it a surprise.
Thank you again for being here. Get home safely, and we'll talk to you soon.
You as well, John. Pleasure's been all mine. Thank you so much.
Sure thing.
What will you do when you get lonely? No one waiting by your side. You've been running, hiding much too long. You know it's just your foolish pride, Layla. You got me on my knees, Layla. I'm begging, darling, please, Layla. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? I tried to give you consolation when your old man let you down. Like a fool, I fell in love with you. You turned my whole world upside down, Layla. You got me on my knees, Layla. I'm begging, darling, please, Layla. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Make the best of this situation before I finally go insane. Please don't say we'll never find a way and tell me all of my love's in vain, Layla. Got me on my knees, Layla. I'm begging, darling, please, Layla. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Layla, you got me on my knees, Layla. I'm begging, darling, please, Layla. Darling, won't you ease my worried mind? Got me on my knees, Layla. Begging, darling, please, Layla. Darling, won't you ease my